Take a look at this offer. It's pretty insulting, right? Now have a look at this offer. It's also insulting. It is very easy to point the finger at companies like Uber Eats and DoorDash for paying drivers less and less and oversaturating markets. But do the drivers ourselves play a role in that? Look, we were all new once, and if you're anything like I was, you probably took some questionable orders when you started out as well, and let's face it, that's to be expected. The issue is, there are far too many drivers out there that never learn and create a bigger issue for everybody. What's going on, everybody? I'm Zach Drives Fast for the RideShare Guy, and in this video, we're going to talk about bad gig workers, the problems they cause for everybody, and what we can do about it. In the comments, I want you to tell me what your base pay was when you first started driving and what it is now. For me, on DoorDash, when I started driving it was $3, and now it's as low as $2. On Uber Eats, it was also $3, and now it's all over the place, but I've seen base pay as low as $1 for single orders. How did we get here? Corporate greed? Yes. However, we as drivers allowed it to happen. I want to be clear. I'm not sitting here pointing the finger at you specifically. I'm talking about drivers in general. We've set the precedent that bad orders are still going to get delivered. I'm sure you've heard of cause and effect. Before we do a deep dive on this, I'd like to give you a non-gig work example. I live and drive in a city called Bellingham, Washington. It's beautiful here. However, over the last several years, we've seen a massive uptick in homelessness and crime. Shoplifting is a huge issue in my city. Hell, I see loss prevention chasing somebody down damn near every time I go to Walmart now. The masses didn't just wake up one day and decide to start stealing shit. It happened gradually, over a period of time, when more and more people realized that the cops weren't showing up when they were caught stealing, due to the city sitting around not doing anything about it. The problem's gotten 10 times worse over the last few years. You see what I'm getting at here? The city restricted the type of calls that the police could respond to, and in doing so, they gave thieves a free pass. Drivers are doing the exact same thing. Nothing. We're giving them a free pass. Let's be really honest here. What happens when the base pay is cut yet again? We might grumble and bitch a little, but far too many drivers are guilty of just accepting a new normal that is highly detrimental to us. Almost every driver out there had a regular W-2 job before they got into gig work. However, 1099 and W-2 are two completely different worlds. People coming to gig work from a W-2 job are used to having a boss telling them what to do, and saying no could get them fired. That's not true for us though. Far too many drivers want to treat this like a W-2 job, complete with a boss breathing down their neck and a yes sir, right away sir mentality. That's where the problem lies. Chances are, you know as well as I do that your acceptance rate is not going to get you deactivated. But that brand new driver that you just ran into probably doesn't know that. These apps all use scare tactics to make drivers think that their low acceptance rates could land them in hot water, when, in actuality, it can't. Too many drivers open these apps and press the accept button over and over and over on far too many orders. You and I may have declined that $2.75 order that was going 10 miles, but guess what? There's always some new driver out there that doesn't know any better and will accept it because they think they have to. I want to pause here for a moment and have you really consider something. Bad orders still get delivered by new drivers that don't know any better. What motivation have we as a community given the gig apps to pay us reasonably? I'd argue none. If you're doing this type of work right, the majority of your income should be coming from tips, excluding Spark. Several months back, DoorDash started testing some travesty of a pilot program in Baton Rouge. They made it so customers could not pre-tip their driver. Instead, customers could only tip after the order was picked up or delivered. Look, I will never be the guy to encourage a strike, because if I'm being honest with myself, I know that my reach on YouTube, along with any other content creator, isn't anywhere near big enough to make an actual dent in the company's bottom line. However, that stunt that DoorDash pulled in Baton Rouge should have been the moment that every driver in that market turned their app off until they got their heads out of their ass. But no. There were still plenty of drivers out there picking up orders, hoping that their customers were going to tip them after the delivery. I personally know somebody who decided to try to earn her income from gambling, and ultimately ended up applying for a job at Walmart. That's how well gambling works, and let's be real. It's the same thing for drivers. Take it from somebody who's done that experiment. One of my subscribers drove in Baton Rouge and was kind enough to report back to me on this. She said that it was about 1 in 5 customers that were actually tipping after delivery. Those are pretty poor odds. The fact that DoorDash was exploring the idea of not letting customers tip up front should scare the shit out of you. Sure, it's only one market. For now, but so was the Diamond program and Earn by Time, and now those are damn near everywhere. If you're going to try telling me in the comments that they would never roll something like that on a national scale, I'd like to challenge you on that. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. When I first started, both Uber Eats and Postmates hid tip information on the offer screen from drivers. All we saw was base pay plus mileage, and we had to hope for the best. Guess what? Orders still got delivered. It almost became some twisted game to a lot of drivers. Which order is going to have a good tip and which one won't at all? I want you to think about this for a moment. If these companies knew that they could hide tip information on the offer screen and still get orders delivered, they'd never have to bonus an order to get it accepted in the first place. As a content creator, I hear it all. Some of the most common things that I hear are customers telling me to get a real job and drivers telling me that they're going back to W-2 work. That's great. But let's be honest. There are very few opportunities out there that allow you to make money on your own time that require little to no startup cost. That's why gig work is so attractive to millions of Americans. This is the only way that countless people around the country are able to survive, keep a roof over their head, and food in their stomachs. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is I take this type of work seriously, and I view it as a viable source of income for millions of people. So, how do we protect it? Without getting political, talk to your lawmakers. Tell them your story and why you do gig work. I've had the privilege of talking to lawmakers face to face about gig work, and despite having bills about it that would affect the livelihoods of millions of people, I was pretty blown away with the lack of understanding. I'm of the opinion that legislation is our only viable option at this point. It's gotten that bad. I mean, come on. $1 per order on doubles? Really? Please don't make the assumption that you have to go directly to Congress to make an impact. These apps have to follow federal, state, and local laws. Start with your city council. A city ordinance would be all it would take to force the gig apps to change the way they operate in your market. Before we wrap up the video, I have one more suggestion on how we can all make things a little better on ourselves. I realize that when we're waiting to pick up an order, any wait time is too long. But I implore you, use that time to talk to other drivers in your market. Ask them about the order they're there to pick up. Teach them best practices. Inform them that their acceptance rate will not get them deactivated. I've had countless conversations like this. I've met drivers who were waiting to pick up a double no-tip order, people who didn't know that we are not employees, and drivers that have no idea what unassigning is. No, it's not your job to educate people, but I'd like to remind you that their decisions have a ripple effect on all of us. 3 years ago, a driver took interest in the order that I was waiting on, found out it wasn't a very good offer, and took the time to educate me. At the end of the day, you can play the game the way that the gig apps want you to play it and likely get exploited by them. Or you can set your own boundaries and say no far more often than you say yes. As long as drivers keep accepting low-paying offers, the companies will have no reason to raise our pay. Well, that's going to about wrap up the video. If you haven't done so yet, please do consider pressing the like button and subscribing to the RideShare Guy. You can catch my videos here every Tuesday. If this video resonated with you, check out this video where I talk to you about some new updates that Uber Eats is rolling out and how they might actually be beneficial for drivers. I'm Zach Drives Fast for the RideShare Guy. Take care.